we're very pleased to have our next guest, your first ever women's North American champion, Kelani Jordan. Kelani, how are you? And thank you so much for the time.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
All right, got to dive right in. Sunday, heat wave, 10,000 fans in attendance in Toronto. And I think the biggest thing, and we were talking about it earlier on in the show, is that this was after Money in the Bank. So all the fans that are there to see you. They're there to see NXT. And Kelani, just talk about how much this brand, how much NXT has grown in the 2 years that you've been a part of it.
Yeah, well, NXT has grown tremendously. I think it's super cool to see a lot of people were starting wrestling from scratch and just how fast we're picking it up and just being able to like perform in front of, like you said, 10,000 people. Like for me specifically, I had my NXT debut about a year ago. So I think it's just crazy to see like how fast we progress at the PC. And that just goes to show how well like we're being trained.
Kelani, on a personal and professional level, what does it mean to you to be the first ever NXT Women's North American Champion?
It means everything. I think words can't fully describe. It's kind of like still feels like a dream to me because in my past in gymnastics, I've won championships, but I've never been the first. And this is something that no one can ever take away from me. And I get to create the importance of the first ever title. And that speaks for itself.
Were you a fan of wrestling growing up? Because you talk about the athletes, and I agree. But you're also top level athletes and performing, and then you get put into a world that you don't know much about. And
So, yeah.
the excel, yes, it's a lot because of your physical gifts, but then your trainers. But if you could just tell kind of like your journey to our listeners.
Yeah. So I have 4 brothers and I watched wrestling a lot when I was younger. And I will say when I got to about middle school, high school, I didn't watch the product as much because I was so focused on getting a scholarship, trying to just pursue gymnastics and be the best that I can be at that. But now that I was able to get offered to go to the SummerSlam tryout in 2022 and be able to come down to the Performance Center, I've went back and I'm like a student of the game. I went back, I study still today. I watch WWE Legends. I watch the biographies. I'm going back and studying, doing the history classes. So that way I can make up for the time that I lost and also to go back to learn about things that happened before I was even born. So I've grown so much passion for wrestling, and I like to compare it to gymnastics. I almost love this more because I felt like it found me. I didn't go searching for it, if that makes sense.
Of course. And it's also like gymnastics. It's a new competition as well as you're in that gymnastic bubble and now you're in the wrestling bubble. And there is so much knowledge to gain from it. I mean, I was just at the Performance Center where I also met you, but you turn around, you see the history on the walls, but also, you're literally being trained by the greatest wrestler of all time in Shawn Michaels. He's
Absolutely.
and you go back and watch any of his work with no gymnastic background, but he was very, very ahead of his time with the moves that he did. Kind of like yourself, because you busted out some really impressive stuff this past weekend.
Thank you.
I love that. First of all, 23 gymnastic titles that you had when you were performing and when you were competing. And now here in the world of the WWE and under the NXT brand, how much have you incorporated your gymnastics background in what you do into the ring?
Oh, a lot. I kind of feel like gymnastics has helped me with like body control. It's helped me with air awareness. It's completely different because I never had to have contact with anyone else. I never had to trust anyone else but myself. So that's completely different, but it's helped me with like mental, physical ability, but it still doesn't compare to wrestling. So it's still like, I don't know, it's kind of different, but it's helped me perform under pressure because I've been doing that since I was 5. So I would think that's like the biggest things.
Okay.
How come Sol Ruca thought of her amazing finish and you didn't? I mean, come on now. There was...
Well, I do love me some RVD. So I wanted he's inspired a lot of my work. Like if you like see my style, a lot of it is inspo after him, it's after Ray. I started to add my own little like style to it, but I do like to like play homage to the people and the greats that came before me.
That's awesome to hear. Rob was truly an innovator and still kicking ass at 50. But man, you're talking to two people who got kicked harder, and he landed on many, many times. When you see something like Rob Van Dam doing the Van Terminator, is that something you say, I could do that?
Yes, I definitely could. I don't want to steal everything, but I do like to take some of the stuff. But I want to also like be innovative and create some things that are just like Kelani-esque. But I definitely think that I could do all like those things too.
So you can learn from a veteran. We don't call it stealing; it's just borrowing. That's all.
Yes, borrowing. But he co-signed me, and I got to meet him at WrestleMania weekend, and he's awesome. So I felt like that was like a co-sign.
Nice.
Kelani, one of the questions that I ask all of the NXT talent is short-term and long-term things that they'd like to get better at. Let's take a look at the short-term. What would you like to be able to be better at almost overnight? Is it ring psychology? Is it your athleticism, which I don't think that is? Is it promos? What if you could change something overnight to be better? What would it be?
It would be, I would say it would be promos and just being able to live in the moment and acknowledge the crowd, whether it's wrestling or when I'm talking. That's like the biggest thing I want to work on is like listening.
That's interesting to me because I would think, and maybe I'm wrong, because just looking at me, I never competed in any athletic endeavor in my life. But like for when you're doing gymnastics, are you almost like blocking the crowd out or are you feeding off the crowd?
So you're always taught to tune them out because you don't want any distraction. So for all these years, I've been tuning everyone out. Like, yes, you can hear them, but you're so like laser focused, you just tune them out. And you hear your teammates cheering for you, but you kind of just block everyone else out.
So now you have to do like it's almost like you have to learn the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Now you want to be in tune with what the crowd and how their response is, right?
Yes. So it's like retraining my brain to like do the opposite.
That's unbelievable. So let's go back to Sunday and we were talking during the break before you joined us. For you, here you are. You've only been wrestling for a year. You're defending a championship title at a PLE. You're wrestling in front of 10,000 fans. The crowd is chanting, "This is awesome," during your match. Just take me back to Sunday and what you were feeling and what you were thinking during that match.
Yes. Well, first, when we came out, I felt like the Toronto fans gave us a very warm welcome. They were like clapping and like cheering before we even locked up. So that was super cool. But also like during the match, being able to hear them say NXT or "This is awesome." I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I even was like, this is crazy. I never like truly experienced that. And it was literally electric. And I want to go back. I was like, right when I got back through the curtain, I was like, I want to do it again. I want to go back out there.
Awesome.
Kelani, when it comes to your trainers at NXT, who is the one that you feel you gel with the best? And if you had to go ask any one particular trainer for advice, who would that be? Who's your go-to?
My go-to is Coach Smiley. So yeah, Norman Smiley, he's my go-to, but also Coach Amato, just to have a female perspective too. So those are my two go-tos.
What is it about your relationship with Norman Smiley that allows you to go to him first?
Well, he was my first ever wrestling coach. He was like right when I stepped on the PC, he was my first coach. And I actually remember when I had my first like house show, he told me, he's like, Kelani, you're going to be something great. Keep your foot on the gas. Don't get sidetracked. And from that point forward, he encouraged me. And he also just like believed in me before I even knew the basics of wrestling. And that's something like I'll always cherish.
You said something earlier that was really, really profound in the sense of, because I heard it from somebody else, and that other person was Kurt Angle. And he said, I had to train my brain differently from everything that I learned from amateur wrestling to get into professional wrestling, how hard it is. For you, it's kind of a two-part question. One, hardest thing you ever had to do in gymnastics, and then two, hardest thing you had to do in professional wrestling.
Great question. Gymnastics, probably just pushing through pain, because in gymnastics, you have to keep such an elegant from your face up. Like your face is elegant, whether you're feeling the worst you ever felt. You can never show sign of weakness. You can never show like pain because you have to, like, you get judged on like artistry and like how you look and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And for wrestling, I would say the hardest thing is, oh my gosh, I think for me is honestly just learning the ring psychology. Wrestling is something I've never like could even imagine doing. It's so different and you're forever learning. There's no right way. It's subjective. Like gymnastics can be subjective, but like you're aiming for perfection, where in wrestling you can be rough around the edges. And for me, that's super hard because I'm a perfectionist. So when it looks like a little rough or scrappy, I'm like, was that good or is it supposed to look like that? So that for me is the hardest thing that I'm still struggling with and like working on.
Were you afraid of heights?
No. I'm not afraid of heights.
Good to know.
You know what? You know, it's funny, Kelani, talking to you right now and hearing the answers to these questions. And, you know, I'm a big fan of yours. I love what you're doing with NXT. And two of the biggest reasons, and it's interesting from your last answer. One is you're infectious in a way that it really looks like you're having fun, like you're enjoying yourself and you're having a good time. The other thing is how you do show pain in your matches, how you do show signs of weakness and garnering sympathy from the audience. I noticed that even on your match on Sunday, how you were able to sell how hurt you were and the physicality of that match. And then it's interesting to hear that answer where in gymnastics, you had to completely no-sell everything that you were doing, even if you were in pain. Like, again, having to just retrain your brain on how to do everything. But you've been able to master that art early on. So how difficult was that for you?
Very difficult. I'm still learning how to do different levels of selling depending on who I'm in the ring with. If it's someone bigger, how to sell differently than it's someone if they're smaller or the same size as me. But someone that I actually really study selling on is Shawn Michaels. I feel like he's the best seller. So I really do watch a lot of his matches. I watched a lot of his matches early on. And actually Coach Smiley is the one when I was very new, he was like, watch these matches. Like you will be ahead of the game. Watch them. So I studied Shawn Michaels like head to toe on like just watching selling specifically.
Kelani, is there any aspect of what you've done so far that makes absolutely no sense so far?
I mean, all of it really.
None of it makes sense to you, right?
No, none of it makes sense. It's completely different, like I said, than anything I've ever done. I'm still trying to make sense of it.
Well, wrestling teaches us to do things that are not normal. It tells us to fall forward and don't put your hands down. Fall backwards without looking backwards. It's not normal what we do, but you, just by listening to you, and you're excelling because of, like you said, you've been an athlete since you're 5 years old. If I could help you with one thing, exactly with your mentality of how you're going about everything in your promos, where you say you want to learn more and psychology more, apply it with your promos and speak from your heart. We're talking to you. I feel like I've known you forever and I just met you recently. Like Dave said, you have a connectiveness with an audience because you have three men who are just like listening to everything that you're saying, and the same with the audience. I've watched it. I watched it live. The fans love you, and it's just going to grow more and more if you speak from your heart. This business is the most realest thing that you will ever do, as you've already quickly found out. And there's a reason why you're the champion as well.
Thank you. That means
another great example is Roxanne Perez. I never thought Roxanne Perez had those mic skills. And now I'm like, man, this girl's a bitch.
Yeah.
Kalani, no comment from Kalani on that one. Kalani,
he said,
Authenticity. I'm gonna work on that. So thank you.
So you're saying that's the real Roxanne Perez we're seeing then? That's authentic Roxanne Perez that we've been seeing.
Hey, she had enough. She had enough of being nice girl. She was like, nice girls finish last, so that's why she had to switch up.
So for you, what was the moment? What was the moment for you when it clicked, when it's like, oh my gosh, wow, I'm a WWE superstar? What was that match or that moment where you were like, man, this is for me?
I felt it was for me when I did my first level up match. It was against Wendy Chu. I felt it was for me because I honestly just I was feeling pure joy. I was so excited to be out there. It was the first time the audience has, like, they saw me and they gave me a really cool, warm welcome. So that's when I realized it was for me. But sometimes I kind of still feel in awe that I'm a WWE superstar. I'm like, what the heck? Like, even earlier today, like, I saw Charlotte and I'm like, what the heck? That's freaking Charlotte Flair. Like, this is crazy. Like, it's just so cool. And even when we were at WrestleMania weekend, when I got to see Trish, I got to see Lita, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I don't know. It's just like sometimes I'm still in awe that like I'm a WWE superstar too, because I'm around people that I looked up to. Like, so it's kind of just like crazy, you know, to think.
Sorry, if I could offer you a tiny bit of advice. When you see the Trish Stratuses of the world and you see the Charlotte Flairs and the Litas, do you know what the difference is between you and them?
No, what's the difference?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's no reason why you can't achieve the same success as a Charlotte Flair or a Trish Stratus or a Lita, especially somebody like Trish. I think that'll be the best example because Trish never really had an interest in pro wrestling. She was plucked from like the fitness world, and she went on to become extremely successful, a Hall of Famer, and somebody who learned along the way. So if you really set your mind to it and you apply yourself to this industry, there's no reason why Kelani Jordan cannot be mentioned in the same name as all of those women.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. I love that.
Short-term goal, I kind of feel you're already there. You're the champ. Long-term goal for you.
Long-term goal in NXT, of course, it would be be the NXT Women's Champion. And then long-term, like besides NXT, obviously be on main roster, be the Women's World Champion, be the Women's Champion, be Money in the Bank winner, like all those things. And also one day be the Hall of Famer, be able to experience that and like just give back to the talent who comes after me.
Who's your dream match?
My dream match, probably Bianca or Charlotte. Those two.
Kelani, do you pay attention to the world of pro wrestling outside of NXT?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you watch other products, other brands, other companies?
I watch sometimes, like I'll go back and watch like on YouTube. I'll go back and watch like the Joshi wrestlers. Like I watch like Stardom sometimes just to like learn different styles, like because they're a little bit more intense. So I do that. I've seen TNA. I obviously watched our main roster shows, SmackDown and Raw.
What do you feel about this TNA integration? It's pretty cool. I don't know how the talent feels, so that's why I'm asking you, because I mean, hey, if this thing's continue, I mean, Jordan Grace has already been there. There's a whole different slew of women that you could be facing as well.
Honestly, I love the crossover. It just brings more challengers, more people to wrestle, more people to work. So, I mean, everyone here seems to be happy and loving it. Like even last night when Joe Hendry was here, everyone was super excited to see him again.
They believe. Clap,
yes.
clap.
And listen, Kelani, congratulations on all the success. Again, I love watching you each and every Tuesday night on the USA Cable Network starting at 8 p.m. and following you on all the social media and the YouTube. And then I hope you achieve those goals. Like, I hope you do become as great as is being the women's and the first ever. I mean, that will never, I mean, the first ever women's North American champion. When you capture, and you're going to achieve all these goals. So when you win the NXT Women's Championship, just don't forget, like, we did it, Dave. We did it. Like, you need to shout that out when you're holding that championship title up. Remember, you know, coming on Busted Open all these times. So, Kelani, congratulations on everything. Thank you so much for the time and continued success.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.